So this is the big story of the day, right? It's around the digital vibes saga at the Department of Health. And we start there. 7 health department officials have been implicated in the digital vibes tender corruption scandal. The health minister, Phaahla, says 6 of them will receive suspension letters today. The department's former acting Director General Anban Pillay is also expected to leave today. Asked about his role as the deputy minister at the time, Phaahla says he had no involvement in the tender deal. For more on this, I'm joined by eNCA's Heidi Giokos, who joins me now for an update. Heidi, speak to us about the action that the department says it has taken against those implicated.
By the end of today, we understand that 7 health officials within the departments of health will be placed on precautionary suspension. We do understand that letters have been sent out to these 7 officials. We know 10 officials are being investigated and questioned within the Department of Health. However, it's important to highlight that 3 of those officials have moved to other government departments. So for now, it is 7 government officials that have received precautionary suspension letters, and they will be placed on precautionary suspension by the end of business today. We know that the Director General of the Department of Health was already placed on precautionary suspension as of last week Thursday, and the Health Minister, Dr. Phaahla, indicating that that decision was not made by the Department of Health, and he did not sign off on that suspension, but rather it came from the President's office, as the SIU report was in the President's hands for some time now, and we understand that that suspension came from the President's office. But of course, the Department of Health has to be seen to be taking action. It's 150 million rand contract that was allegedly awarded irregularly, according to the SIU. A number of these officials contravened prescripts of the PFMA, and there have been allegations of money laundering and a number of other allegations as well with these 7 health officials that will be placed on precautionary suspension as of the end of today. But let's listen to the Health Minister on that.
By the close of business today, all affected 6 officials in the Department of Health would have been served with suspension letters. The acting DG has been working on this since yesterday. He's been also making sure that the affected individuals are actually informed, and as we were coming in, he just confirmed that in terms of starting the process of engaging and informing them of what is coming. He has already done that as of now. So what is left, the letters are already prepared. It's just handing out the letters before the end of business today. So the outstanding disciplinary investigations will then follow, and investigators have already been engaged, and they will then communicate with the SIU for further briefing. And also it's already been indicated that they might also need further information from other sources within Treasury and other parts of government. So the number of suspended national health officials by the end of today will be 7, because as you will be aware that the DG, Dr. Buthelezi, has already been put on suspension.
So I wonder, Heidi, if money in this country is a bit like water, that once it's spilled, it can never be recovered again. Here we're talking about 150 million rand, and it always seems we're talking tens and hundreds of millions in as far as irregular expenditure is concerned. In this case, 150 million rand, and what's the process to try and recover at least as much as possible of this 150 million rand?
So we understand that the SIU has been able to recover 22 million rand of the 150 million rand of this Digital Vibes contract. The SIU indicating that they are in the process to try and recoup as much money as possible. We also pose this question to the Department of Health, Thulas, because we are in the middle of a pandemic, and when this contract was in fact awarded and signed off by then Health Minister Dr. Zweli Mkhize, it was at the peak and the height of this pandemic, where every cent was crucial, where government was in the process of procuring vaccines, and the wealthier and more advanced countries and economies were able to grab those vaccines as quickly as possible. So 150 million rand could have gone a long way, and the Health Minister basically saying that indeed it could have helped, especially during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, especially last year, and going into the vaccine rollout, as there were a number of setbacks, especially here in South Africa. But the SIU indicating that they are in the process and they're trying their very best to recoup all of this. The Department of Health saying it is not up to them. They're very interested in the process and trying to understand how much can be recouped, but it's all in the hands of the SIU. Let's listen to the SIU on that.
We started with the freezing of the 22 million rand that was already in the bank accounts of some of the people that we are having to recover from, and that money is waiting for the process that has just started. We have now put the matters to the special tribunal, wherein we are going to try and set aside the contract, and once we have done that, we then recover the whole 150 million rand, and which means we'll have to follow the money like we have done in the report to make sure that we know who benefited how much, and then all of those people, there are about 30 respondents already, that needs to come and explain why the money was given to them, and therefore at the end of the process we'll be able to know how much exactly we'll be able to recover.
That's Kaiser Khanyago there. He speaks on behalf of the SIU. Lastly, Heidi, speaking of the SIU, they've confirmed now that they are working with new information over and above this report that we have, and it all has to do with Digital Vibes as well.
Yes, we understand that the SIU has confirmed to eNCA just a short while ago that they are in the process of following up on information and leads regarding the Digital Vibes contract. I tried my luck and my charm to get as much information as I could from the SIU, but of course it's at a sensitive stage and they need to first investigate as to whether or not the information and what has been presented to the SIU gives them any leads with regards to Digital Vibes. But the SIU indicating that they will be presenting this to the President once it is concluded. But the SIU says it's quite confident with the information that they have received, and they are working tirelessly to get this sorted out as quickly as possible. And it's also important to note the SIU mentioning that if one reads the report, it clearly states that this is not a final report, and if it is a final report, they do have the opportunity to provide a new report should more information be presented to them with regards to the Digital Vibes contract. So we'll just have to wait for that information to us.
All right, thank you for that. eNCA's Heidi Giokos working that story. There's new information, according to the SIU, new leads that they are following around this issue of Digital Vibes. So the saga is far from over.